Welcome back to another episode here on the Heart and Hustle podcast. David, man, we were just having a good conversation before that. We had to hit record, but I want to start off with, man, you were born and raised in the exact neighborhood, and now you serve professionally Livingston and Oakwood. Most people actually run away where they came from, man. You ran back. What does that mean to you personally? Like, why?
For me, it is giving back. Where I come from and the era in which I grew up, success really meant, you make a lot of money or you make enough money and you move to the suburbs. And yes, I've done that. I made some money. My wife and I, both from the inner city, and we raised our kids in Gahanna. But I started asking the question, like, what about, my neighborhood where I come from? What about those kids over there? What about those families?
Hmm.
And I just feel like God wanted me to move back to as close as I could possibly get to my neighborhood and make sure that I make a difference. Once my kids got old enough and finished with college, I'm like, man, I want to do something I want to do. And I ended up moving back, coming to Central Community House, working a nonprofit, and impacting the community.
Well, you're already doing this work, like throughout your life. Like myself, I find myself, I've been doing the work. I didn't realize it. So have you noticed that? Like, man, this is actually something I've been doing. I'm just doing it at this level now.
Yeah. So it has always been something I've always done. That this is my calling. So I say to people, I've always been a social worker in some shape or form. So rather I'm working corporate or what have you, I'm always going to be giving back to the people and helping someone because I wouldn't be sitting here if it wasn't for the community that I grew up in that helped me reach, this place where I'm at today. So I've always done it. Now I'm definitely more focused in working in this community, working here at Central Community House. And recently I became an area commissioner for the Near East Side of Columbus. So uh, I put my money where my mouth is and make sure that, I'm helping my people and my community.
I love it. David, I had an issue recently with my wife, right? Being very transparent here, where, sometimes as a man, when you work so hard to overcome adversity and you understand who you are, and someone doesn't have to be your wife, but someone challenges who you are as a husband, as a father, the pride in you knowing where you come from to who you are today, like, does that still get to you, man, when someone tries to tell you who you not and you work so hard to be this person?
I would say yes and no. I mean, I think throughout life, people are always going to challenge you and people are going to question your motives. I mean, you really have to be rooted in your mission, your personal mission, and who you are, and not allow, naysayers to, get you off that path. But, I've definitely experienced that, in my time here in my walk. Sometimes you just have to drown out the naysayers and keep it
Mm.
moving.
And what are some of the things you had to challenge even to get here, man? Like growing up, David Cooper. David Cooper didn't just grow up, both
Yeah.
parents at home, everything given to him. There was some things that you had to overcome. What are some of
So
those so some of our listeners can realize, hey, none of this was given to me. I've
yeah,
had to really earn this.
definitely. I was sharing a story that uh, first and foremost, I always stay humble by just saying I'm David Cooper from Livingston and Oakwood. But I was that I don't want to say typical, but I was the stereotypical bad kid growing up. So I would do stuff, pranks in school and what have you. And, I really was labeled as, this bad kid. And I remember going to fourth grade at Livingston Elementary School. And that first day of school, when kids get to choose their desk where they want to sit and sit next to their friend. Well, I didn't have that option. When I came in, my desk was already labeled with my name on it, and it was directly next to the teacher's desk, Miss Brookings. And Miss Brookings knew my grandmother, and this was a no nonsense teacher. But after that year, she really taught me how to be excellent. I came into probably fourth grade reading at a second grade level, really not taking school serious. By the time I left fourth grade with Miss Brookins, I was on honor roll. And I remained on honor roll for the rest of my academic career because of her really instilling in me worth
Yeah.
and saying, hey, you belong here. This is who you are. So for me coming up, you know, life wasn't always easy. I come from a single parent home. My mom was uh, single mom of three kids, and she was really doing the best she could with what she had. You know, her and I did not have a great relationship, you know, but it was this community that really stepped in and reached me when, you know, my mother couldn't. I had a coach, Coach Dunn, at the Police Athletic League, who stepped in and really the way that I patterned myself as a man and as a husband today was what I watched him do. You know, Coach Dunn was the
Love
first
it.
man I ever saw married to the woman of his children. And when I tell this story, people look at me like, huh? I'm like, yeah, I was 14 when I met this man, and I had at least the people that I ran with in my circle, none of us had fathers in the home, and I
Yeah.
did not see men married to the woman of their children. And he was the first man that I ever saw that. And so I was enamored with that. Like his sons, like, man, what's it like, you know, to have your dad in the home with you? And Coach Dunn took a liking to me, and he taught me how to be a man. He taught me how to pay my bills. My mother would give me $1, and we had this club at the Police Athletic League called BAD, Boys Against Drugs, and we had to pay a 50-cent dues. And I get that dollar from my mom, and I'm trying to go to the vending machine and get some candy. And I don't know if Coach Dunn had a camera outside that vending machine, but he would catch me every time, and he said, "Did you pay your dues?" And he said, "A real man pays his bills before he goes and do the things that
Ooh.
he wants to do. He does what he
Yeah.
have to do first." And
Yeah.
it is funny that at the first of the month, every time that I pay our bills, I think of that lesson that Coach Dunn taught me at 11, 12, or no, it was 14 when I met him. So age 14, and here it is now being 50. It is still those lessons that he taught me, and I pay in paying my bills. And, you know, because of him, I've been married like 29 years to the same woman, the woman of all my children, as I say,
I love
because
it.
of those
I love
lessons
it.
that he taught me.
I love that you were able to, even though dad wasn't in the picture, find a male figure that was still able to pour into you, man. Like when
Yeah,
we talk about representation, when we talk about it matters, it is not just the skin of our, the color of our skin. It is also that male figure that shows back up to mentor and see us for who we are, not for the things we're going through. And I actually had similar to what you said. I was 15, 16 years old when I had, cell phones are hot, the new cell phones are coming out, and I was about to get me a new cell phone. And I remember a friend's father asking me, why? I said, what do you mean? Like, this is, and I'm telling him all these ideas of why I'm going to get this phone. And he asked me, do you want it or do you need it? And I never forget that. So every time my wife be like, "Hey, babe, we should get this. Do we need it or
yeah,
do you want it?" Probably the wrong time to use it, but it is like people really, one person can change the trajectory of how you think,
yeah,
right? When you see good, and sometimes we don't see it in our lives, so it's hard to sit here and chase something we can't see.
yeah.
So it was cool that Dunn, was there for you. Brookings, you mentioned, was really there for you. But it goes even past that because then all these years later, you sit at a table, and what happens? For
So
those that are listening.
uh, recently, Will Haygood, famous author, he wrote the Butler. So the movie The Butler with Oprah Winfrey in it. Will
Yeah.
Haygood, he wrote that book, and they turned it into a movie. Will Haygood is from Columbus, Ohio, where I live, and I was recently in a meeting, and they were talking about, hey, Will Haygood wrote this new book, and it's called The War Within the War, and they're passing around this book saying, everybody should buy this book and make sure they support Will Haygood. And I'm like, all right, and they're passing this book around, and I'm sitting at the table, and this book gets to me. And on the cover of that book was Coach Dunn. And so I'm fighting it, not to cry, but I just tell this whole group like, this is my coach, and they like, man, what are you talking about? And I'm like, this is the man who is the reason why I'm even sitting at this table, and this is I'm in a meeting, and these are some high powered people, and a lot of times I'm sitting at this table, and I'm like, I don't even know how I got here.
Yeah.
But Coach Dunn apparently had lived across the street from Will Haygood, and in his book, Coach Dunn, he dedicates the book to Coach Dunn because first of all, Coach Dunn fought in Vietnam, and Coach
Wow.
Dunn was a hero of Will Haygood as well. And he said he in the book he tells the story how he was one of the older guys that he went to that would give him some advice and what have you. And I was just like, man, it's full circle. Like, man, Coach Dunn has probably touched so many young people in this community where I'm from. I mean, we all now pushing 50 or in our 50s. And this man Webb is, massive of just the lives that he touched while he was here. So I met him when I was 16. He has a massive heart attack and die on the basketball court when I was 16. So I had 2 years
Wow.
with him. So that short time, but I mean, this man's impact in my life was immeasurable. Like my wife can say she owes something to Coach Dunn. My
Yeah.
children can say they owe something to Coach Dunn, and all of the children and families in this community who I mentor. I mean, these are all branches from Coach
Yeah.
Dunn because I promise you, I
I
would not
mean,
be here. I mean, it's like God has always placed people in my path when I was coming up, when I wanted to give up. And it was almost like, sit tight. God is like, you're still on my mind. I'm thinking about you. And he'll
yeah.
put a Miss Brookings in my path, or he'll put a Coach Dunn in my path, or even a Coach Hughes. It was different people at different times when I was just like, man, I can't do this. Like I quit. It would be the right person at the right time to say, nah, hold on. I'm still thinking about you. Now here I am, uh, God is using me to do the same thing for other people to say, hold on a little
Yeah.
bit. I'm still thinking about you.
I feel that God uses all his strong ones to continue to pour into others, man. I look
Yeah.
back at, my life and it's like someone could look at both of us and say, man, I'm so sorry. But here we are both really thankful, for our lives, really grateful because, man, the people we got to meet, the things that we get to do, you know, the imposter. Sometimes, as you mentioned, the imposter syndrome kick in real quick. Like, what
Yeah.
am I doing here? But
Yeah. Big
this was all
time.
part of the plan, man. And then you talk about Dunn and how many decades have gone, and you still talk about him, right? And now I can only imagine there was chills going through your body at that moment when
Yeah.
he's like, wait a minute, like how? How, Sway? Like this is
Yeah.
crazy.
Listen,
But it's truly legacy. Has legacy changed for you seeing things like this where all these years later, Dunn is still showing up in your life?
man, I used to say, uh, if I ever, became a principal or something, because people used to always say to me, like, you should have been a high school principal. I was like, if I'm a high school principal, like I'm gonna name the basketball coach after or the basketball court after Coach Dunn or something. I
That's cool,
just
man.
it's crazy. Uh, the older you get, the more you start thinking about legacy, and you like
Mm,
when I'm dead and gone, what would be the narrative of me, and
yeah,
what will my story be? And I truthfully, uh, I only hope that some person will tell a story of me the way that I'm telling the story of Coach Dunn. But more so than anything in this world that we live in, it's rough sometimes, and sometimes it can be bleak. I was just telling my daughter, I said, when I'm dead and gone, and people are talking about me, I could only hope that they can say, man, he was a real Christian, because that word Christian seems to be co-opted so much by so many different groups, and here in America, it seems like it brings a lot of pain and hurt. I that I want to be able to show people the real Jesus. Man, here it is, Good Friday, and that there is hope, there is love. I'm not coming to condemn you. I'm not coming here to hurt you. I'm here for you, and that is really my personal mission. And I pray to God that will be my legacy when I'm dead and gone.
I mean, same, man. Like the way that we speak on people, I want that too. And
Yeah,
I believe it will, man. I believe that the work that you've done, um, you planted so many seeds, and you're not even going to see all of them watered.
yeah,
You ain't going to see all of them actually come to life, but they're out there, David. You were a part of somebody's life in a very small way. Doctor, you're talking about Coach Dunn. Only 2 years in your life, and
yeah,
all these years later, you're still talking about him. Now
yeah,
that is true legacy. And
and
I know you. I know you there, man. I know you
yeah.
definitely. People talking about you, you don't even know it yet, man.
Yeah, it is, and they do. Like I get letters uh, from young people now that they're adults and they have their own kids. But again, we have a city council member recently, Tierra Ross, here in Columbus, is recently elected to Columbus City Council, and I connected with her because she had a Coach Dunn story, and she was like, "Man, Coach Dunn was like my family." They went to the same church. So I
Wow.
mean, his web, I mean, is touching
Yeah.
a lot of people.
I love that. I love that. I remember you saying your job is actually to get paid to run your mouth. And here we are having a conversation, but more than that, you're really bridging the gap between resources that exist and the people who actually need them but don't know that they exist. Why is
Yeah.
that gap so hard to close?
So one of the things we say here in Columbus, Ohio, is that we are very resource rich,
Hmm.
but most people just don't know about it. You know. So in my position here at Central Community House, I guess my official position is director of outreach and community engagement. And I always tell people, long story short, I get paid to run my mouth, and the knowledge base that I have of the different resources that we have here available, just it here at Central Community House. Because just let me back up. Central Community House has been in the Near East Side for this. We're going on 90 years, and I grew up in this neighborhood, and I didn't even know Central Community House existed. And how many people, have that same testimony, like did not know Central Community House existed.
Yep.
And so my job is to make sure that the community knows that we're here and we're here to help. Um, but what I do is just really connect people to the resources. And I take that so serious that here at Central Community House, our saying is here at Central, our people are central. We have it painted on the wall here. And I always joke, I said, if we ever stop making sure that the people are central, I'm going to paint over the same. I believe that we don't just do referrals, we make phone calls and say, hey, my friend, such and such, whoever you are, I am sitting here right now with, we don't call them clients here, we call them neighbors. I'm sitting right here with one of my neighbors and they need this help. I need you to be able to help them. What do you have for them? And I also recognize the influence that my voice and then my phone call from me uh, carries. And so if I pick up the phone and I call somebody and they see it's David Cooper on the other end, they know like, hey, this is serious. So
Yep.
they're going to stop what they're doing and they're going to help whoever I refer. And I believe like that is our job. That is what we do. And there's a lot of agencies here in this city. But I always like to think that there's none like Central Community House where this is a mission. We take this stuff serious, that we're going to make sure that not just the Near East Side is all right. We get phone calls and we get people coming in all over the city. But we have a network of settlement houses where on the north side, I can call St. Stephen's. On the west side, I can call Glad. On the south side, I can call the Reeb Center and say, hey, I got a neighbor here. I need you to help. And we just take that so serious.
You mentioned you call everybody instead of a client neighbor.
Yeah.
Obviously purposely done, but why? Like I can understand why, but for those that are watching, man, I think that's one is a strategic play, but
Yeah.
how you make somebody feel. I just literally told my
Yeah.
daughter words are powerful,
Yeah.
so the way when you say things, it has meaning to it, and I feel like when you say some neighbor, it makes them even closer, right?
Yeah.
Even in their own minds. Is that why you do it, or
Yeah.
why?
So let me first say I can't take credit for that.
Okay,
We
okay.
have
Can't take credit. Got it.
Miss Darlene who works here at Central. She runs our front desk, and
Okay.
it was her who said to us all as an agency, we're not serving clients, we're serving our neighbors,
It's
and
deep.
it gives
Yeah.
them humanness. And so
Hmm.
the person on that other end of the phone or that person that's standing before us, they're human first and foremost. So stop what you're doing and address this human. They're not just numbers. They're not just down on their luck, or they're humans first and foremost.
Yeah.
So they're our neighbors. So you're right. I mean, by us changing that word and that mindset, it makes you slow down and understand that we're serving humans. They're not numbers.
Yeah, I love that. No, man, that was actually really good. I think a lot of organizations should see it that way, and when they do. I think we can all come together versus all kind of chasing the same thing. What's cool is that you mentioned you're recently kind of getting into this space, but you left corporate, and you left corporate because you wanted to choose purpose over paycheck.
Yeah.
What did that decision actually cost you, and how did you know that this was actually the right call?
So working corporate and running an agency where I was overseeing half of the state of Ohio. It, and I will preface that I was still in some way, shape, or form a social worker. I just had climbed the ladder, and
Yeah.
now I'm at the apex. And you still see, excuse me, things that are going on in the world, and you still, I mean, not even the world. You see what's going on in your community, and I've always been the type of leader that I believe in servant leadership. Let me put it that way. I had a preacher once say to me, he said, a shepherd should always smell like sheep. And I really pride myself on just that, is that if you say you work for the people and work with the people, why aren't you among the people? And
Mhm.
me going corporate was really being able to send my kids through school. And now that they're done with school and it's just my wife and I now because they're out the home, it was getting back to me making sure me as a shepherd keeps that smell of sheep on me. And so I came back home. Uh, I took a big pay cut. It was
Mhm.
one of them things where you say to your wife, like, God is in this. And she asks you the question, like, you sure? And I'm like, nah, God is in this.
Yeah.
This is the move. And my wife supported me with that move to come back to Central or to come to Central. Uh, but I've been rewarded in so many other ways. And if I'm being 100% honest, because I was faithful and took care of God's people, I I probably, just put it this way, financially I'm okay. I'm okay. You
Yeah.
know, I'll just leave it at that.
Yeah. I mean, you talk about taking a pay cut. The reward is not about the money,
Yeah,
right? Like when you get to see one thing you mentioned is it's not that you're a good guy, you just ministering to a younger version of you, right?
that's
And,
it.
my wife and my best friend, they always say, "Man, one day, I see you as a pastor and preaching," and I say, "But I do that work already."
That's it.
Like because I'm not in a church on a pupil, like I'm not, ministering. I said I'm talking life, and sometimes they don't even know it
Yeah,
because I'm just here through stories. sharing stories, meeting people where they're at. Like we are ministering, and that's the paycheck, right? To
Yeah,
know, like, damn, we are here really changing lives. Because somebody, the Dunns, right? They change our life.
yeah.
We
And
just
and
want to give back to someone the same way someone gave to us.
so when I was younger, I would say like, man, I want to be a pastor. You know, uh,
Yeah.
little did I know, me pastoring would be a community and not a church. And so
Amen.
it is about the people. I mean, I always say
Yeah.
it's about the people. So if anybody call me and they want me to do some consulting work for them or to partner with them, that is the first question: is is this good for the people?
Mm.
And if it's good for the people, then I can sign on to it. You talked about in our earlier conversation when I said that it's not so much that I'm this great guy or I'm this good guy. When I'm doing what I do, really, I am trying to still rescue the David Cooper that was a little kid,
Hmm.
from Livingston and Oakwood. And so I
Yeah.
see myself in a lot of these people that I'm helping, and I'm really selfishly ministering to the me that I see in them.
Yeah.
Uh, so, I'm still in therapy. I'm still working through that. Um, and people could go one of either way. It just so happened that I went the direction of helping people because I very easily could have been pushed the other way and been a bad guy.
I love that you just mentioned you said this when you were young, and just literally back to the words are so powerful. You say things and you don't even realize what you're saying sometimes. Life would happen and you're like, man, I remember when I said this. Like
Yeah,
I would say things at a young age. Like I remember when I met my now wife 15 years ago. And one of the first things I told her, she jokingly said, and I say this all the time, but she says, man, you talk a lot. And I said, one day I'm going to get paid to speak and talk and
yeah,
travel the world. And I've been able to do that. Like, did I know how that is going to look like? Absolutely not. Or leaving high school and say, man, one day I'm gonna be a host on a stage. Well, God was listening because here I am. This is the stage, and I'm
yeah,
hosting. You
yeah,
just don't know in what ways it's going to happen, man. And a lot of time when you ask God for something, be very mindful. It's right there in front of you.
yeah,
It may not be disguised as what you wanted and how you wanted it, but it was never our plan,
yeah.
and I love it, man. I love that you go and you do this work, and it's not about you, right? It's
Yeah,
about the next
never.
generation. It's about
It's
those David Coopers that feel like they voiceless, that they
yeah,
feel like they listen, and they're doing this alone. And to say therapy, man, you're 4 years into therapy.
right.
You're actively bringing men into therapy. I actually brought this conversation up on how important it is to have representation and someone just fight for you. Because you mentioned that there was a kid that didn't want to speak to the therapist. You says, "Hey,
Yeah,
man, I love you, right? Yeah. All right. Well, listen, that person's a good person. Like that is strong. And then how you get into therapy actually at this
so
age? What
so
made you say,
me,
you know what, I want to get back into therapy?
yeah, me getting into therapy now, mind you, I've been adjacent or in this field my whole adult career. And I'm like, man, I don't need that. I'm good. I'll just pray about it. And I could talk forever about church and therapy. But me and my wife have been together since high school, you know, raising our kids, and there are challenges to being married. And so I never try to tell people, what to do in marriage. What works for me may not necessarily work for you. Uh, but I had my nephew pass away. Richard Taylor Jr. Was a Marine, and he was like my son. I remember times of him telling me, he said, "Man, I wish that you were my dad." And I'm like, "Well, that's
Wow.
cool, like, but I'm your uncle, so I'll see you whenever." Um, but he was murdered, and that was a tough season for me. And my wife and I were going through some struggles, and she said something during me trying to grieve my nephew that just didn't sit well with me. And I was like, I knew at that point. She said, I'm hurting just like you. I understand your pain because I'm hurting just like you. And I'm like, I know you're not. Like, that's my blood. Like, how can you hurt like me?
Yeah.
So me and my wife end up separating. And here I am. I got me a condo, fully furnished. I think I'm gonna be the man. I ain't gonna lie to you. I was like, I'm gonna be the man. Like I'm gonna jump out here. You know, I've never really experienced dating and all that. I've been with my wife since high school. Man, God had other plans for me. Man, I was sitting in that condo every night crying, and God dealing with me. But that's when I got in therapy and
Wow.
and understanding all the excuses that I had of not going to therapy. Like, my therapist has to be a man, he has to be a Christian, he has to be an old man. I mean, I had a million excuses, and one of my friends said, "Is that it?" and showed me where I could pick all these different categories and get a therapist the exact same way I want them. So at that point, I didn't have an excuse anymore.
Yeah.
So, I started therapy and, started healing, healing from my childhood, healing from those traumas that I had. Ultimately, 6 months later, my wife and I got back together. But I am still to this day working and dealing with those traumas. But
Hmm.
I started a group, with men, and I used to take them to the shooting range. And I would say, man, let's just go to the shooting range and smoke cigars. And, we there's manly stuff. But really what I was doing is just checking in with those men. Like, hey, man, how you doing? How you feeling? Because I never had that outlet to talk to
Yeah.
men and really we supposed to have it all together. And I don't have it together. Uh, and so from that, here at Central Community House, we started a men's mental health group called Mask Off, and taking that mask off and being able to say how I feel and to start getting that healing. And it's led by a licensed therapist, Romel Graves. And I can tell you, every session, we do it once a month, is each session is getting larger and larger. But the best
Wow.
thing that I can say about those groups is everybody that attends one, they've come back to the next one, and we just added
Love
on.
that.
And the men are talking. I mean, I thought it would be pulling teeth. They are talking, and I have nephews that come to that group. My son is in that group. My brother-in-law is in that group. One of my best friends is in that group. And it sometimes get uncomfortable when your son is talking about you, and my nephews is talking about their dad. I'm like, whoa. I mean, but it's just such a safe space. And I always tell my son, like, man, speak your truth, because I know I wasn't a perfect father. I've already, when I got in therapy, I sat all my kids down and apologized for the wrong that I've done. And, my hope is only that, my son is the only one with the child, is that you be a better father than me. But I'm an
Yeah.
open book,
I love
and
that.
I want people to get their healing too.
I love that. I was actually listening to a podcast yesterday, and it was a former wrestler, and he's like, "Man, I've if I haven't said sorry to you, I am so sorry for who
Yeah,
things, but I'm not that person. I've worked on myself, and that's the most realist thing you could do. As
yeah,
if you run into somebody that may felt some type of way, hey, I apologize if I've ever made you feel any type of way,
yeah,
because that was a different version of us, and a
yeah,
lot of times people hold on to this old version of someone. It's like, man, David Cooper is a whole different person than they
yeah.
knew 10 years ago, 5 years ago, right?
I mean,
So I definitely appreciate that, man. And talk about legacy. You definitely got that going for yourself. But if there's someone's listening right now that has that coach done in their life, they've never acknowledged, what do you say to them?
man, I mean, let people know you appreciate them.
Yeah.
Let your coach done in your life know how much of an impact that they are making, or that they're making on you. Um, I had a young man that I still work with to this day. I met him when he was 14. He is 22 now, and he's autistic. So he has Asperger's. And one day we're driving in my car because, I mean, I'm really all that he has. Like he doesn't have family, and when he came to me, he came to my group home. So, and
Mhm.
I knew he didn't have anybody. So he took to me, I took to him, and so I still work with him to this day. Um, but he was riding in the car one day, and it was quiet. We weren't listening to the radio or anything. We just quiet. And he turned and looked at me. He said, "Coop, if you die, I would be very sad." And I'm like,
Oh,
huh? Like, where is this coming from? And I was like, man, I appreciate that, Justin. He said, uh, I don't speak in front of people. He said, but at your funeral, I'm going to speak. And he went into saying right there, he said, I'm going to tell the world how much you mean to me. And this is a kid with Asperger's. Like he does not speak,
yeah.
and so of course we had to hear him and change that subject. But to know that I make an impact on him, it helps you meet the day each morning, with a new vigor. And you're like,
Yeah.
I got work to do. I know that the work that I'm doing is going to impact people. I had
Yeah.
last school year, I had a breakfast program out of my trunk, like the Black Panthers used to have a breakfast program. And I was working with this particular family that they're just close to me. These kids, they call me Paw Paw now. And I wanted to make sure that they ate. So I would pick them up for school and take them to school because their school is literally right around the corner from my office. And I wanted to make sure that they ate. Well, when they would go home, they would tell the other kids on their street, like, hey, Mr. Cooper give us this and he give us that. It's basically they trying to flex on the community.
Yeah,
Like
yeah, yeah.
we do this, we do that. And so the kids start beating at my car when I picked them up. And they're like, can we have some? And I'm like, well, then let's expand it. So in my trunk, I would have all this breakfast food. I go to Sam's and pile
That's
up on
cool,
it.
man.
And so on that street, when I go pick up my crew to take them to school, I would make sure that those kids that came to my car that they ate too. And I always joke with my kids. I always say, when I'm old, I'm not worried whether y'all gonna take care of me or not. I said, man, there's so many kids in this neighborhood that I mentor that I'm gonna be good. And
Yeah.
two of those kids that I mentor now have their PhDs. So I'm like, I'm
Love it.
I'm gonna be okay.
Yeah, yeah, definitely. You good.
Yeah,
Nah, I think that's amazing. One thing I would change, man, that you just said, David, you said, I know this work is going to impact. It's already impacting, bro.
yeah,
Like, just me sitting here having a conversation with you, I'll sit here and cherish the conversation. Whether we talk again or not, like, there is something about a man that even you getting emotional. Like, I'll be joking and say, yo, excuse me, I'm on my period. I'm a little emotional, right?
yeah,
Like,
yeah,
because I realize I don't know why nowadays I get a little bit more emotional, but I tell myself, man, it's okay to cry, bro. Like
yeah,
all these years I held on tears and I try to be so strong and realize, bro, we're just human, bro. You
yeah.
know,
I
like
try
you
to
don't gotta
tell.
sit here and walk around like things don't hurt you. And I had to tell my wife recently, like, I'm also human. And as a
Yeah,
man, like sometimes you think that words don't hurt, but at some point it's like, lift me up, love me. You know what I'm
yeah.
saying? Like we want that as well as humans. So I appreciate you being so vulnerable and
No,
being
I mean,
yourself, man, out
I,
there.
I, I talk about men and emotion because many times the only safe emotion for us to share is anger. And
Hmm.
really, that's a secondary emotion. And really being able to get at really how do you feel, and it's not necessarily anger. It could be, I'm disappointed. I'm disappointed that my wife didn't know that I needed this or I needed that.
Hmm.
And so that may manifest as anger. I'm disappointed at the job. So anger is what I'm safe to show. You know what I've
Right.
learned over my journey with therapy is that first and foremost, it is okay to show emotion, but many times those dudes that are so stoic and hardcore, because that used to be me, are
Yep.
really the most sensitive anyway. And I'm
Facts.
like,
True.
yeah, I feel emotion, and I one thing I am not afraid to show that emotion, anymore. It's just like, yeah, I hurt, like you said, I hurt just like everybody else, and I'm not ashamed to show that. I remember when my father died, my kids were saying, "We didn't see you cry," and I used to joke. I said, "Because real men cry in the shower. Like, go get in the shower if you need to cry." Um, I don't say that anymore. I'm like, work through it, and we're gonna be better for being on the other side. And if tears
100%.
is what you need to show and let them flow, I mean, the Bible talks about those tears being liquid prayers. I'm like,
Yep.
and this season in my life, uh, sometimes there's a lot of liquid prayers. Put it that way.
Yep. And it's not always bad, right? It's a lot of good when we talk about just letting it out. You're letting it out, man. Just imagine we let that build up. I think that's why we were so angry, bro. We just let it
Yeah,
sit in. And now, like you mentioned, just let it flow, man. All those feelings that you may feel, they all just release your body. Keep
yeah.
moving on.
And
So, I
I'm by no means am I this overly sensitive man and walking around like it's the 70s and flower power. Nah, that's not me. I still like to think I am definitely a manly man. But
I still go 0 to 100, huh, David?
yeah, real quick. I used to have this sign behind my desk. I took it down for this podcast because I didn't want your viewers to think bad of me. But it says, what did the sign say? Oh, I got it here in the trash. It says, I may be laid back, but I can lean forward real quick.
Hey, come on.
So I just want people to know, like, I am pretty chill,
Yeah,
but
yeah.
I'm laid back, but I can lean forward real quick. So
And that's what's so cool about life, man, is that we didn't change who we are. We just understood that we had to become a better version of us
that's it.
at the same time. So, yeah, man, listen, I appreciate this conversation, Dave. Where could people find more information about you, the organization? Are you on LinkedIn? What is the URL,
So
social medias, all that good stuff?
I am definitely on LinkedIn. David Cooper is my name. I am not big on social media. I'm old. When you was talking about getting a cell phone as a kid, I'm smiling because for me it was a pager. I'm like, I wanted a
Oh,
pager, and they
man.
was like, only drug dealers have pagers. I'm like, so I still want one. I remember my mom said, "You want me to page you every now and then?" She trying to crack a joke on me, and I was like, "Nah, would you please?" So I'm old, so I'm on Facebook, uh, and I'm active on Facebook. Sometimes I'm a little too active. Sometimes people be like, "Man, stop chasing that argument." Uh,
I love it.
but I'm here at Central Community House. You can find me here. I'm like, I am not hard to find. This is my community. I am a commissioner at large, area commissioner at large here on the near east side of Columbus, and anybody that also shares the same vision of it's about the people and working with the people, you come here. We are in some
Mhm.
definitely rough times. A lot of budgets are being cut. In Central Community House, we're no we're not immune from those same cuts.
Yep.
So anybody want to donate and they want to come here to Central Community House, we right here, and you'll know that it's just about the people, and it's just not talk. And I can promise you, any agency that I associate with will be about the people, or else I won't be attached to it.
David, I appreciate the time, man. Appreciate the conversation. Until next time, make sure you guys follow, subscribe, and comment for more great conversations with leaders like David. Yo, your legacy, man, believe me, people are going to be talking about this decades after you're gone. We
Yes, sir.
appreciate you, bro.
Appreciate
Later.
you.